All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. It is Monday, November 11th, 2024. Happy Veterans Day to all of you out there who have served. We appreciate the service that you've given us, whether you're here in the United States and Canada or elsewhere around the world, joining us today. You're here for how to avoid job scams. And my name is Albert. I am the founder of Albert's List, and I will be your host. Joining to me today is Chris Hadley, ex WikiHow and founder of Safe Horizon. And we're here today to talk about job scams. And these are things that you might have received somewhere in your job search before, whether it's people who think that you already have a job through WhatsApp, or somebody who's told you to send them money beforehand. And today we're going to talk about how you can identify those as you go through your job search. As you know, the job market has been prohibitively difficult. And what we want to do here is to provide some clarity around how you can tell whether something is fishy or not. This is being recorded, so you will get access to this video later. And we'll also be handling Q&A in the way that Chris here wants to do so. So without further ado, Chris, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for spending your Monday with us, and we're looking forward to learning a lot from you.
Thanks for having me, Albert. It's been great to be a member of the community over the last years, and this is a great group, and I'm really happy to have the chance to share with you what I've been working on, and my hope is that it'll be helpful to everybody, not just in their job search, but in their regular lives outside of that as well. So I will be happy. I'll be trying to keep an eye on the chat. My preference, I'll try to look out for questions as we're going along. I think that'll keep the flow natural, and hopefully we won't lose context. I will say this is a new presentation. I haven't done this talk specifically tailored to jobs before, so hopefully everyone will bear with me as I go through this. And let me see here. Let me work on getting the right um, session shared.
You able to share your screen?
I'm working on it. I'm having a little trouble getting the right one.
Okay. So while he does that, if you haven't answered the poll yet, feel free to answer the poll. We're asking, have you ever been a victim of a job scam?
Mhm. All right, so there we go. And now we should be in sharing mode here. Let me know if that's not visible to everybody. I wanted to start off and talk a little bit about myself. So I'm Chris Hadley. I have a PhD in cognitive psychology, and I studied memory and learning, and my research also involved looking into error detection. And I have recently been working on my company, Safe Horizon here. And our focus for this company is to combine AI and human intelligence to help people avoid scams and fraud online. And uh, motivation for this is that, online scams have been a rapidly growing threat. And as you can see from this chart, in the last few years, the number has really spiked to a very, very large peak, over $12 billion worth of fraud in the last uh, couple of years here. And when we look at this, we think about, who are the scammers being targeted, or who's being targeted by the scammers, and really, it's everybody. About 45%, nearly half of all U.S. adults are targeted each day, and the sorry, some trouble here, are targeted daily. And the most common targets are older adults, job seekers, which is what we'll focus on today, remote workers, and social media users. Um, and one of the things that I find most valuable in understanding what's going on with this is that scams exploit cognitive biases. So these are ways that our brains naturally process information. These might be what's known as authority. So, I know this organization, they're somebody that I am familiar with and trust, so appeals to authority. Our optimism, bad things won't happen to me, is another common one that scammers target. They also target, or they also use what's known as the uh, urgency or fear. I don't want to miss out. So a lot of times the scams will come as things uh, that are happening, quickly, or if we don't do something bad is going to happen to us. Another one's curiosity. What if this is real? Maybe I want to, learn more about something. So the scams kind of encourage us to dive into these things. And when we're job seekers, these vulnerabilities are things that you'll see. So, a recruiter might say they're reaching out to you from a very well-known company, a Facebook or a Google, or our optimism might say, "Hey, I can see through job scams on my own. I know what I'm doing." Or, that sense of urgency or fear, money's tight. I need to get a job right now. Or that, curiosity. This seems like a really great opportunity, or I really want to learn more, even though, that maybe there's some things about the messaging that don't seem exactly right. Um, and so now what I want to do is I'm going to take a little bit of time and go through some of the, kind of common scams that we see here, and talk a little bit about them. So the first thing I want to talk about is fake job listings. And when I say fake job listings here, what I'm talking about are job listings for jobs or companies that aren't necessarily real at all. And these are often posted as a way to get more information about you. So they're initially, they may not even be trying to take your money, but it might lead to something down the road. And some ways that you can, look to spot a job as fake is if the company isn't real or doesn't seem to be real, you don't know who they are. So you really want to check to validate that the company exists. Another sign that something is a fake job is that it doesn't really sound like a position you've heard of or are familiar with here, a daily money team representative. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Um, and and then other characteristics, and we'll see these in some of our other types of fake listings or scams, is that they'll often be written poorly, or the language will be vague, or the grammar will be bad, or otherwise the the ad just won't be uh, created with the level of professionalism that we expect. And so you can always dig a little bit deeper, research the companies, make sure that you're not sending your information to an organization that isn't real. Um, Another one, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, but these are really common these days, these messaging app scams. And they will often start off, in this case, this example here was somebody who sent in a text message, but they'll very quickly tend to encourage people to switch over to WhatsApp or Telegram, although WhatsApp seems to be the kind of most common thing that we're experiencing right now. And there's often kind of a long process of, oh, the work is very easy. You're just leaving reviews on applications, or you're entering order numbers or things of that nature. And the process will proceed forward, and eventually they'll look to perhaps have you connect a crypto wallet and send payment to them, or provide your banking details to them, or some other way that they're going to try to get you to give them money in order for you to get your earnings back. So whether that's your training or some other fees, but all of these are dead ends, and there's nothing that you can do to get paid when somebody is following or presenting you with one of these sorts of scams. Um, Now, another common one is scams on LinkedIn, and these can manifest in a variety of ways. So, something that we've been seeing a lot of are fake profiles, where the scammers are creating either a profile that is um, brand new. You'll see as an indication of a scammer a profile that might have a very high title and only two or three connections. The education and work history might not line up in a way that makes a lot of sense. This is one actually that a person that reached out to me recently. In the here that you can see that this managing partner for Forward, which is a Bay Area healthcare company that I used to work at. But it's forward dash self-employed, and then it follows with this you know trekking and expedition company in Nepal. And that's a very, very unusual job history there. And so that's the kind of thing. The pieces won't fit together with these fake profiles. And the way that they communicate will also not really follow the conventions that we're accustomed to with LinkedIn. So, the very, very generic, nice to connect with you. Have a nice weekend. No period at the end of the message. So all of these things, if you get unexpected outreach from a person or a scam on LinkedIn, you definitely want to think about, does this person, is this a profile that makes sense to be reaching out to me? Do they seem to be a real person? If you want to be, very thorough, you can do a reverse image lookup on the profile picture and verify that. But you always want to be very cautious with new connections. If they don't have any connections to anyone those are the kinds of things that can tend to be indicative of a fraudulent LinkedIn profile. And these will be trying to do things like get personal information from you, perhaps, or they may just be looking to become a profile that looks more real and be able to not necessarily scam you, but use your connection as a way to appear more as a three-dimensional and fleshed out, and then be able to be a more effective scammer in the future. Another one that we see that's maybe less common these days, or um, not as popular, but still exists, are MLM scams, and these are things where they're the real scam is in, again, trying to get you to pay money. So they always involve, you've got to pay money to become a member in the organization. You have to pay in an upfront for product. You're supposed to get people working underneath you, and there's this very process where there's always promises of more money and lots of opportunity down the road, but very little to no chance that you're actually going to get real money out of them. So this is a scam that kind of comes in a variety of different flavors, and there are some related scams as well where they might be asking you to distribute a product. So they'll say, have something shipped to you that's often stolen, you or purchased using a stolen credit card, and you're supposed to ship it somewhere else. So they're kind of are doing something that looks like you're shipping, but you're really being the middleman in somebody else's fraud. Um, and the next kind of very common one here is social media scams. And these are things where you'll see posts like this, in an Instagram reel or something like that, that we're hiring. And these are attractive front ends to pull people into something similar to the WhatsApp group scam that we talked about a little bit earlier here. And in all of these, you see these characteristic things of very high pay and not a lot of actual work to be done. And that's one of those red flags that should always uh, trigger some skepticism in you that you're getting information that's not reliable here. Um, there's some other scams that come up, and we see these a lot through LinkedIn, and these are either career consulting or job placement scams. You've been invited to a special network of executives who has access to premium job listings, and only people in this network see these job listings, and it sounds great, and you follow up and then learn that, oh, well, the access is, extremely expensive, and there's a lot of ongoing expenses. And with these kinds of scams, a really useful approach is simply to search, and Google those and look on um, how their reviews are. You'll see often that people they'll have very poor ratings, and that people are not actually finding the jobs that they expect to find. So with all of these, there's a real benefit to anytime something seems or feels a little bit sketchy, to take a step back and say, wait a second here. Another one that is common is upfront payment scams. So in this case here, you'll go through what feels like a reasonable process to be hired, or maybe a cursory one, but at the end of it, they'll say you're hired, and then ask for money to get you set up within the system here. Um, let's see here. Um, let's see. Sorry, I'm lost. There you go. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about after the payment scams here is something that a lot of us have been complaining about lately, and these are ghost jobs, which are not quite a scam, but they're really, really unpleasant for job seekers out there. And ghost jobs are when real companies post jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed or other job boards, that they have no intention of filling. They're not real positions, but instead, they're putting them out there for uh, appearance sake. Perhaps they want to look like they're a company that's successful and growing, and is adding headcount, when they're actually not. They might simply be doing it as research to gauge interest in a particular position. Um, but again, they're not actually going to be have anything at the end of the process there. And I think all of us who've been on the job market have probably applied to these. And it can be hard to identify whether something is actually a ghost job. But one of the clearest signs here, is if it was posted a while ago. So, in this example, this job, was 4 months old when the screenshot was taken. Almost certainly not a real job. Ultimately, the process here would be similar to how you vet other things. So you're looking out to, if it's old and lots of applicants, probably not real. You can always look to contact the hiring manager. I think, that's one of the processes that's always recommended in, the Albert's List community for, you want to find a way to make a personal connection with the person who's actually hiring for a role in some fashion. So you're going to need to do a little bit of work there. I guess on the upside here, the ghost jobs, they're not malicious, in the sense that they're not likely to abuse you or misuse your information here. So that's kind of the downside. And in this job market, it's a real issue. Um, okay, so kind of going through the various scams that we've talked about, um, there are some common signs that something is a scam, and these probably are going to these link back to the psychological factors, the cognitive factors that we talked about. Um, so pressure to act quickly is something that you see quite often in something that's not a legitimate job offering. If you engage with one of the WhatsApp scammers, and I don't recommend you do these things because it feeds information back into the network of scammers who are pretty sophisticated and organized, that, oh, this is a real person, and they do respond. If you do respond to them, you're likely to see more of the same, but they'll very quickly get into saying, oh, the position's going to close if you don't act right away. The and you'll lose this opportunity, lose this money. um, and so that ties right back to the issue of urgency that we talked about earlier, where, oh, I'm already feeling a little bit of tension and fear as somebody who's looking for a job, perhaps. Now I'm being pushed. That starts to take me out of my kind of higher level brain that's going to be the thing that is logical and thinks through the potential consequences of things, and gets you into that more reactive state. So anytime there's pressure to act quickly, that's something to really evaluate and think, why am I being pushed here? Another one is poor communication, and this manifests in a few ways. So, the first we've talked a little bit about in the uh, greetings. Posts might be poorly spelled or poorly written. Your communications with them might be very generic. So, not using um, your first and last name, for example. So it's won't be very personalized. Although, as we talked in the beginning of this, the addition of AI has made it easier for the scammers to really personalize things more effectively than they used to be able to. Another thing that you'll encounter if you're not interacting with a real person on the other end can be switching between generic and less professional and more professional, more detailed communication. So, on the other end of these types of interactions, they, similar to way that customer service agents have, you could have the AI, which escalates something to an actual human with more training on the interaction. So the communication can be very inconsistent in the way that it manifests. And the and again, there's typically fairly quick movement forward. And this is the next flag here, which is early requests for personal data. So uh, scammers are often not necessarily trying to get your money right now, but they're building up a profile for things that can be used later on. So a big red flag might be, requests for identification as part of an application or social security number. That's something that a legitimate employer in the US would only be offering or requiring, at the point of, a job offer's been extended and is being accepted. So you're not going to see people asking for your social early on in the process from a trustworthy business. And then unprofessional processes. So we've talked about, moving communications from into WhatsApp from LinkedIn or emails that don't come from a legitimate corporate domain is another common one. A lack of an interview process. So I think in this job market, we all know how competitive and challenging things are. If somebody's saying congratulations, you got the job without an interview, you're absolutely talking about something that's not real and can't be trusted. So you really want to think about the processes that the scam is asking you that you're being asked to go through in a job application or a job process, and whether or not that aligns with the expectations you've developed over the years for how a normal hiring process should follow. Um, and then, financial red flags are another big thing to watch out for. So, those are, does the compensation align with the actual job requirements? If something sounds like it pays too much, it probably is a scam. Kind of similarly, if they're asking you to provide money, that's a huge red flag and something that you should watch out for. Another one is convoluted payment structures. So, it's if things are needing to be, they're like an overpayment scam is a really common one. So they might, say, "Oh, we sent you this check. It's too much money. You need to refund us part of that." And what happens there is that it's a fake check, and when you refund the excess amount that you've sent to them, it will that will be taken from your bank and gone forever. And the check that they sent you was never any good to begin with. So anytime again that the financial piece doesn't seem to line up and make sense with the processes that you've been accustomed to, you should consider that a flag. And all of these, again, tie back and connect to the ways that we tend to process information. And so the to the extent that when you're working and operating in the job market, you can have yourself in the space of taking a deep breath and really thinking through and checking in with your skeptical side, because we have this tendency to want to act, want to move quickly. We want to find our next big thing. We want to be excited about it. And all of that stuff creates pressure that can make us overlook flags. So you really have to be connected to your thinking brain and your analytical brain, and not get overwhelmed by something that sounds really good. Um, and I want to kind of come back to one reason that I'm talking with everybody here tonight is the way that my company is able to help job seekers. So, as I mentioned earlier, Safe Horizon is a company that uses AI and human intelligence to identify threats. And we have built a service called SafeScan. And when somebody who's using our service gets a suspicious email or a message, um, they're able to send it to us and we process it and we give them a response that says whether or not we think something is a threat, how confident we are in that response, and the reason for our decision making on this. And the idea here is that we want to um, not just have people accept what we say, but we want to again have everybody in this mindset of, the way we defeat and beat the scammers is by being thoughtful and analytical. So, we give a good explanation for what's going on, explain how people can verify this, and this is an example from earlier. So, we are for people who've joined this webinar, giving free access to the service through the end of 2024. If you're interested in that, you can just email our support email address here with the subject webinar, and then we'll follow through to get you signed up. And and then obviously more information is available at our website as well. So thank you all very much for listening to me, and I'm happy to discuss and answer any questions that I can. Um,
All right,
okay.
I'm here. Let's see. What do scammers get out of placing a phony job posting using a phony company when they don't ask for money or your banking info?
Yeah, so that's a great one. So if you've gotten that, they are looking to build up a profile for you. Um, so the way it's useful to think about the scammers now as kind of adversarial companies in a lot of ways. So they have they want to collect tons of data about you. They want to then be able to repurpose that data in various ways to be able to do more targeted attacks against you and other people. So in a lot of ways, they're sort of it's sort of like in the way that a Facebook or a Google might collect information about people to be able to target advertisements more effectively, that the scammers might be doing this sort of stuff to have information. They might, if they've got your resume, they might have your name, address, phone number, alternate email addresses, where you went to school, that sort of thing. So starts to become a very rich source of data that could then be repurposed for a more targeted phishing attack or identity theft attack.
Excellent. Is there any harm in providing the recruiter your birth date without the year?
The birth date without the year.
Hmm.
I mean, if when you're providing that kind of information, I can't think of where that would be relevant and to a legitimate company in the US here. So I know that conventions about what recruiters expect can kind of vary throughout the world. But in the US, short of actually being hired, I can't see why that would be a helpful or useful thing to offer them.
Hmm. If you have been impacted by a job scam, what are maybe some of the top two or three things that you should do to recover?
Um, So I think the one of the first things, and actually this might be kind of a general recommendation that I would offer for everybody, is that if you think you've been successfully scammed, um, you want to start taking kind of good security measures, like freezing your credit at the three credit bureaus is a good idea. It's free and it prevents somebody who has information about you from opening new lines of credit or bank accounts or that sort of thing. So that's a really good thing, and I actually I recommend that everybody do that. It's just like a matter of course. If you're not applying for credit frequently, you don't simply don't need to have that stuff available. With all of them, you can unfreeze pretty quickly.
Mhm.
So that's something. If depending upon the information that's gotten out there, you can certainly take steps to update your passwords on your accounts. I recommend that everybody use a two-factor authentication of some manner. So if you think you've exposed yourself and put more information out there, what you want to do is kind of respond by sort of hardening your defenses a little bit, and then being aware and just kind of be checking your following communications very carefully, because if you've kind of they've successfully gotten you a little bit, then that makes you much more likely to see something another time.
Hmm. I see jobs posted on a mom job site, and they always ask for a social security number, which I thought was weird. But why would a job site allow this?
So it depends upon the job site. So, you're like the more sophisticated the job site is, the LinkedIn's or the Indeeds or sites like that have a lot of resources. They're going to work very carefully and have a lot of automated tools to catch that kind of stuff. Um, if it's a less technologically sophisticated site, where they have fewer resources, they may just they may just be slower to respond to that. And if you see that kind of a post, it certainly makes sense to report it. Obviously, if you're asking this question, you're probably not going to be likely to get caught by that yourself, but you can help other people by doing that. And I do think of our process of dealing with scammers as sort of a collective effort that we need to work together to help protect kind of the greater community.
Gotcha. If there's a job listed on LinkedIn and the same role is posted in different cities and countries, could this be a ghost job or scam?
It could be. And we talked a little bit about the idea of market research, and they're trying to find out, where there's interest in that job. It could also be real, because depending the way companies are built these days, often the same function can be performed in a lot of different places. And so in that case, I think that the best practice there is to follow up, try to contact the hiring manager in some way and be able to validate that it's a real position. But with these, if it's with the ghost jobs, as I mentioned, there's relatively low risk, assuming that it's a real company. Another step you can do though is, if you're seeing it on job boards, that ought to be reflected also on the company's official websites. So, that's another place that you can go. If something's on the Microsoft site and it's posted elsewhere, you can be pretty confident that it's at least a legitimate offering from that company.
Hmm. I'm still seeing some company sites asking for when you started and ended college and making this a required field. I realize it's not a scam, but why would they need to know this?
I've seen that too, and as somebody who graduated college in a year that didn't begin with two, like I see that, and I think that's a bad practice. I think that it allows companies to potentially engage in age discrimination, and I don't really know why they're doing it, but it seems like some of the platforms it seems more common on. I think I've seen it more frequently, maybe on Workday than some others. But yeah, it's a bad practice, and I wish they wouldn't do it. But I don't. I suspect that it's probably a default setting that was built in there, and they just aren't turning it off.
What is usually the goal of scams these days? Money or data or information?
Yes, I think it's, if they can get money from you, great. If they can get data from you, they'll take that too.
Hmm.
Um, but it's all related, but money first and then information second, I would say.
And how much is, say, an individual's data worth on like the black market? So if you're going to go find your data on like the underground market, um, is that selling for a lot, or are they looking for treasure troves of, say, an entire hacking or something?
Usually the data is sold. That's actually one I wouldn't want to speculate about what an individual's data is worth. Mostly what I have seen is large data sets. So it's not a person, but it's millions of records. And that price can vary a lot depending upon how much information is in it.
Mm.
So, medical records, for example, the breaches from your healthcare providers or insurance companies. That's extremely valuable because that's going to have very, very nuanced data about a person, often including very sensitive, personally identifiable information.
Yeah. Are there any good sites to read reviews of staffing agencies similar to Glassdoor?
Um, I'm Glassdoor is definitely a go-to for that. But I'm not really sure, Albert. Actually, that might be more in your wheelhouse of knowledge than mine.
I feel like you can read Yelp. Glassdoor is probably pretty good. And then, asking on Albert's list. I think those
Yeah.
are three ways to start with it. Yeah, cool. While we wait for additional questions, can you tell us little bit more about Safe Horizon and if job seekers can use that to help them figure out how to avoid job
Mhm.
scams or job search safely?
Yeah. So I can. So I founded Safe Horizon um, out of my personal work original with family members who were my mother-in-law and other people in my family who were uh, really at risk. Somebody had a credit card compromised and that kind of thing. And I started to think about, okay, well, certainly these are not the only people who are being targeted in this way. How can we create something that can scale where they can really get personal advice and where they can where we can address and short circuit that sense of urgency. The scammers try to push people to act immediately, and so we say, okay, immediately you can send it to us. And so what we did is built something that doesn't involve a person needing to install anything or let us, see into your inbox or anything like that. But instead, they simply can take a suspicious message or email or text or social media post and just send it to us. Right now, we can accept direct forwards from text or emails, and it comes into us. We scan it with AI, and then we have a trained person validate the AI response and make sure that everything checks out. As we know, if we've been working with AI lately, it's really powerful and great for doing lots of tasks, and pattern recognition like this is one of them, but it's also imperfect. So we add that human review layer in. And as I showed in my slide, it does a very good job at identifying things that match patterns. And so like the scam, the kinds of job scams and that sort of thing that we talk about, those have characteristic features that we're able to detect and pick up accurately, and provide good advice about what to do with them. And so yeah, so we don't plug like directly into LinkedIn, but it's really easy if somebody's sending you a message on LinkedIn and you think, I'm not so sure about that. You can copy it into an email, forward it to us, to our email scanner, and we'll get you a response. So it's a very lightweight, easy to use tool that can help people stay safe, and we've been very happy with our results so far.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Cool. So, are there any other questions? Does everybody feel like they can now job hunt with greater safety, knowing what exists out there? Please let us know. Put your thumbs up in the chat, or let us know in the chat overall where you're at with that.
Yeah, and absolutely, I really encourage everybody to reach out and connect with me. I would love to, hear people's challenges and learn more. I'm very much interested in taking people's personal experiences and thinking, how can we use what we learn from them to make what we provide better and more effective. So, love to talk with anybody who's curious or has things they'd like us to take a look at.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we're going to go ahead and end it here. But Chris, do you have any final thoughts, final words on job hunting safely online? One thing that you want everyone to take
Well,
away.
well, we we sometimes talk about this, but it's like the first rule of job scams is, if you think it's a scam, it's a scam, and the second rule of job searching scams is, if you think it's a scam, it's a scam. So trust your gut on those.
Good. Well, thank you everybody so much for spending your hour with us. We appreciate that you were here, and you're all
Yeah,
going to get a
thank you so much,
recording.
everybody.
Yep. You're all going to get a recording and we'll follow up with more information. Until then, we have many more webinars, including webinars this week and next week on topics related to your job search. We will see you all soon, and thank you all so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.